Hi everyone, let's solve today's daily challenge, that is permutation in a string. In this question, we are given two strings S1 and S2 and we have to return true if S2 contains a permutation of S1 or false otherwise. Right, so let's see what the question is. So in this question, we are given two strings, right? One is S1, let's say it's A, B, C, D, and other string is S2 and let's say it's A, B, C, G, H, I and A, D, B and C. Okay, so we have these two strings. Now what we have to do is we have to consider this string S1 and we have to check whether this string S2 contains any permutation of the string of S1, right? So what is a permutation? The different kind of arrangements we can get using these four characters, right? So possible arrangement for this can be B, C, D, A, and it can also be A, C, D, B, right? So these are two possible permutations. So in total, there can be 24 possible permutation, that is 4 factorial number of permutations for this string, right? So we have to check out of these 24 possible permutations if there is any permutation that is that S2 contains, right? That is present inside S2. So let's see. So what we will do is we will take first 4 characters of this string and then compare whether it is a permutation or not, right? So we can see that it does not contain a D, so it cannot be a permutation. Similarly, we will go from B to H. Again, it does not have all the characters. From C to I, there are not all the characters. G to A, H to D, and I to B, and then from A, D, B, C, right? For this part here, we can see that there are all the characters present which are also inside of S1. So we can easily say that yes, S2 contains a permutation of string S1, right? So in this case, we will return true. Otherwise, we have to return false. So I hope the question is clear to you now. Now let's see how we will solve it. So one approach that might come to your mind is sorting, right? Now what we will do is, so in this approach, what we can do is, we can sort the given string S1, right? We will sort this and we will create a for loop to traverse inside of S2, right? So let's say we traverse from I is equal to 0 and I less than equal to, let's say the string length of this string is n and for this is m. So we will traverse n minus m times, right? And let's say I plus plus, and inside of this loop, what we will do, we will consider a part of this, right? A substring of size m from S2, right? And we will consider it and we will sort it, right? Sort this string and we will compare, and above this function we will also sort string S1, sort S1, and we will compare these two strings. Let's keep it inside of temp. We will compare if temp is equal the string S1 that we just sorted, right? So then in that case we can easily return true. But the time complexity for that, if we evaluate, what will be the time complexity? First of all, we are traversing here. How many times? N minus m times, right? N minus m times. Then we are sorting this substring of length m. So for that, we will be having m log m complexity, right? And also for sorting this string, we will have m log m complexity. So this is the total time complexity that we will be getting, right? So if you try to evaluate the upper bound of it, right, then it will be n square log n. Okay, so this will be the upper bound and this will give us TLE. So we cannot use this approach. So what we can do is, let's see, how can we decrease its time complexity? Okay. We will not sort. Now, one thing that should be clear to you is that we are checking whether all the characters present in S1 also exist in S2 or not. That the substring S2, right? If any substring in S2 contains that particular part in S1 or not, right? Let me write GHI here also, right? So what we are trying to check is if all the characters of string s1, whether they are present in string in any substring of s2 or not, right? That is what we are checking. So here as you can see, if you check a is 1, b is 1, these are the frequencies, right? C is 1 and G is 1, right? But for this string, A is 1, B is 1, C is 1, but D is 1 and G is 0 here and D is 0 here, right? So, but we need this, but it has a 0, right? D is not present. So that means it is not a permutation. So now we don't have to sort. We only have to check whether all of these characters are present or not. Because a particular arrangement of these characters is a permutation, right? So if all the characters are present, then it automatically becomes a permutation, right? So that is what we are going to do. What we will do is we will traverse inside of this string s2 and we will compare, right, whether a particular substring of s2 contains all the characters present in s1 or not. Now let's see how we will do that. So for that, easily we can create a map, right? In that map, what we'll be doing is for s1, right, if for the characters present in s1, we will be adding 1 for that corresponding character, and for that particular corresponding character we will be subtracting it from the string s2, right? We will subtract it from the string s2. So if our map contains for all these corresponding values, if our map has 0, then we can say that this a particular substring of s2 is a permutation of s1, right? So let's see what we'll be doing is, so let me create a map here, right? This is map m, right? It contains, for this string, it contains this. Now for this string, in the first iteration, you take a group of 4s, right? We take a group of 4s. So it will have A, B, C, D. It will not be having, we will be doing all the changes inside of this map only, right? So for the very first iteration, when I is equal to 0, for the very first iteration we are seeing A is 1, B is 1, C is 1, D is 1. So what we will do, we will mark this as 0, we will mark this as 0, we will mark this as 0, but this G, we will add G here, okay? We will add G here and it will be 1. So if now all the values present in the map are not 0, right? So in that case, we have to return false, right? Now for the next string, if we consider, what we'll be getting, let me do it here, I is equal to 1. Our map had this, okay, this. Now B and C will be 0, 0, right? We'll be subtracting it. G, we have to consider it 1, and for H, we will be considering it 1. Now all the values inside of this map are again not 0, right? So we'll be doing it each and every time. So let's consider when we have the permutation of S1, right? Then what will happen? Then see, A will be 1, B is 1, C is 1 and D is 1, right? This is from S1 that we have got. Now when we will come here, we can see A is present in S2. So if it is in S2, you subtract -1. Then you see D is also there, you subtract -1. Then B, you subtract 1. C, subtract 1. All the values inside of the map became 0. So that means it is a permutation of string S1. So this is what we are going to do. Okay, so now let's code it out. So what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a separate function for this called bool is permutation. Okay. And I will call it for each and every substring of S2 of size M, right? M is the size of this string S1. Okay, so we'll take two strings let's take s1 and s2 only, string s2. Okay, and then what we have to do, we have to create a map, unordered map. Okay, and first character will be char, and another int, because we'll be storing the frequency, let's call it m. Now what we'll do is, now s1 and s2 will be of the same length, because here we are just passing a part of string s2. Okay, so don't get confused, that is a substring of s2 and it is of size s1 only. Okay, so for int I is equal to 0, I less than s1 dot size and I plus plus, what we are going to do, if the character is inside of s1, we will add it, and if the character is inside of s2, we will subtract it, right? We will do this. After we have created our map, what we will do is, we will iterate in this map and check the values present inside of it, right? So let's iterate in this map and check the second values, right? The frequencies. Now if any frequency is not 0, then we can say the substring that we have taken of s2, that is not a permutation, right? So we will check if it dot second is not equal to 0. In that case, we can simply say that it is not a substring, it is not a permutation of string s1, and we can return false. Otherwise, if all the values are 0, then we have to return true. So that is for this. Now what we'll do, we will iterate in this string s2, right? So let's make sizes, right? So let's say n is the size of string s2, so it will contain this, and m is the size of string s1. Now we'll be considering groups of m size from string s2. So how will we consider that? We will iterate from int I is equal to 0, I less than equal to n minus m, right? Because for the last string, it will be, we will be starting from the n minus mth character, right? So we will iterate until this point, and then what we have to do is, we have to consider, so we have to consider a size of a string of m size from string s2, right? So let's store it inside of another string called temp. So we'll say s2 dot, so it is a function substr in C++, which will return you a substring of length m, right? So this is what you have to do, and after that we will call this function is permutation, and it will check permutation, and it will take string s1 and the temp string, a part of string s2, and it will return true or false, right? Because it's bool, it will return true or false, right? So if it returns true, then that means the temp that we have passed is a permutation of string s1, so we can return true in that case. Otherwise, if there is no such case, so after this for loop, we will simply return false. Okay, so let's run it. Okay, so it's accepted, right? So this is how we have to do this question.